Hello and welcome back to SketchUp Assist. Today we're going to continue with our kitchen design. This is part 2 of our practical SketchUp series, which demonstrates how to produce a simple kitchen layout. In this video we're going to finish the base and wall cabinet layout. Let's start off with taking just a quick look. Now this is, we've sort of pre-designed this obviously for the sake of time. And so it's really sort of about executing a design. We will demonstrate how you can use SketchUp though to explore different layouts. Again, creating these cabinets as groups or components allows you to easily move them around and try different configurations. We have a refrigerator that's going to go over here and a sink that's going to go here. So we're going to kind of design around this concept. Okay, this is where we left off last time. We'd put a couple of cabinets together. We had a base layout. We did make a slight change to this cabinet. When we build the upper wall cabinets, you will see how we designed this. But if you recall, we put in a 30-inch base and an 18-inch base cabinet. Now, with our 10 by 10 layout here, if you pull these dimensions, you'll see that we have about 36 inches left here. That's the opening we would use for a refrigerator, at least sort of standard in the U.S. anyway. Now, I will say one thing. From a practical standpoint, if you have a wall here, you're going to want more than 36 inches opening here for your refrigerator. Most of the doors on modern refrigerators swing out a little past the width of the refrigerator, and so you would run into an issue with that door hitting the wall. If you're doing double doors, if you're doing single door and you're going to have it open towards the cabinets, that may be fine. But I would recommend having a couple of extra inches in here to spare. And you may even look at the specific refrigerator you're going to purchase just to make sure. But we're getting a little further beyond the intent of this video. And so this is more about using SketchUp to do a layout and not specifically how to not run into trouble when you're designing a kitchen. Okay, let's get our sink base laid out. Let's start by pulling a couple of guidelines. Let's come over 36 inches and we'll come out 24. Now, there are options on this. Obviously, we've decided to put in a 36-inch sink base, but there are different designs. So, depending on what it is you're looking for, you might choose a different option. Now let's just go into rectangle mode and let's pull our base for the sink here. And let's go ahead and make this a group. Okay. Now we're going to want to remember let's operate on this this group while in the group edit mode. We'll come up 34.5 inches. So now notice that we have consistency here in height and in depth. Okay. And let's go back into edit mode and let's go ahead and this is a repeat of some of the things we did before. So let's go down about 8. Let's come up 4. And let's go ahead and put a couple of dividing lines in here. We'll go in a little bit so we can see this. And come in a little bit on this one. Okay, on edge there. Okay, so we have those 2 dividers put in. And now we want to come in and put in a center breakpoint. Now, if you come in and you hover on a segment, you will notice that when you get to the midpoint of that segment, SketchUp will tell you. It's very handy, so you don't have to measure to figure out where midpoint is. And then the other thing, I'll mention is that notice the color of this line. Hopefully it's visible. It's blue, indicating that it is parallel with the z-axis here, so with the vertical axis. And so that's how we know we're not sort of putting in an angled line. We have a straight square line there. Okay, and now we can come in and we'll push this back 4 inches. Again, I typically will just push a little or a lot, doesn't really matter, and then type in the number I actually want. It's easier than trying to push that into a precise amount. And then we're going to go into offset mode and we're going to do our 2-inch offsets to be consistent with the rest of our cabinets. Okay. Okay, that's it. Now, you'll say, well, what's the difference in this sink base versus the others? Well, in reality, sink bases, generally the drawers aren't functional. You don't really see that in this. Again, these are just shells for demonstration. One other thing you'll notice that I typically leave the tops in these. Now, real cabinets generally don't have surfaces on the top, so we're talking about this selected surface specifically. I generally leave them in. It doesn't really matter in these designs. But we will pull it out on the sink base. We're not going to do it right now, but when we come to put in the countertops and the sinks, it's just easier to have that surface removed. When we cut through the countertop and put the sink in, you don't have any additional things getting in the way. So we'll deal with that when we do the countertops. Okay, so we're starting to make quite a bit of progress. So remember, this wall's done. So now we have a couple of things left on this wall. Let's get rid of these guidelines and let's look at what we have remaining. And so there you go. We have 4 feet. Well, it turns out that that a 30-inch base and an 18-inch base totals up to 48 inches. It's exactly what we need. And so let's do this one by one so we can kind of demonstrate, again, not super sophisticated, but just how easy it is to explore layouts. And I made one mistake. Let's go back. And when you do this, you want to hit that Option or Alt key, Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, so that you make a copy of that. You can do the sort of cut and paste relevant to the OS you're operating on, but it's really convenient to do that Alt or Option key. And let's lock this into place. And then we're going to grab this other 30-inch base here, and we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to rotate it here. We got 90, and we're going to snap it into place. And so notice it's falling right on our line. Well, again, very simple example, but for whatever reason, let's say I decided I wanted to explore a different layout here. Well, you can easily just come in and grab these cabinets and shift them around. And so if you're starting from scratch and you don't know what design you want, creating the boxes in the dimensions that you have available for the cabinets you're buying. Again, if you're buying off the shelf, they're going to be fixed sizes. If you're having the cabinets custom built, then you may have some more flexibility. There's still generally cost benefit to using sort of standard sizes, even when you're doing sort of custom kitchens. But creating these in as groups or components really allows you to explore what you need to explore there and move things around. Now our base is basically done. Again, we're going to add the sink and the countertops later. So what we want to do now is start working on the uppers. And it's easier to work on the uppers if we go ahead and get some walls in here. And so what I'm going to do is actually kind of cheat here, and I'll show you why. I'm going to put an 8-foot line up here. Now, if you're going with higher ceilings, then put a higher. I'm just going to model this with 8-foot ceilings. And now I can go into rectangle mode, and I can grab that point, and I can come down here, and it makes it really quick to come in and do this. And I'm going to make this a group. I don't really need to, because I'm going to make my wall cabinets a group, but it can save you in case you forget to do to make some of your wall cabinets groups initially. Things won't get stuck together. And then I'm going to come down here. Now I could make these one group, but I'm just going to, for the sake of time, I'm just going to make these 2 separate groups for now. Okay. So now, again, the benefit is I don't have to worry about whatever I design going forward sticking to those 2 walls. Okay, let's now start, and where I generally start is from the base up. Cabinets are generally, wall cabinets are generally 18 inches above the countertops, since we don't have countertops here currently. Measuring off the top of the cabinets, I'm going to add in an inch for that, and so I'm going to go 19 inches to get some marks here. So we'll do a 19-inch mark on this side as well. Okay. And much like we said in the first video, we start with the base, the corner. And before we get there, one more thing. Let's go ahead and put in our upper heights. And I'm just going to do 30s in here. This is not a fancy kitchen. This is just 30-inch cabinets here. Okay, now we'll start with a corner. And the corner cabinets are generally coming out 24 inches on each wall. Now again, you can have anything. I'm just kind of using what are the standards that we typically operate with. So we'll come out 24 inches and we'll come out 24 inches. So now we have our guidelines. So let's come in and start building out the cabinet. And let's put in that first one. Let's go ahead and make this a group. And what we're going to want to do is come into that group, and now we can add in this other wing. And there we go. Okay. And then now notice I'm coming out. I've got a green line that tells me I'm running out parallel with the floor in this case, or parallel with the top of the base cabinets, however you want to look at it. And I'm going to come across this one, and this one should be a red line. Yeah. And then I'm going to connect across here. Okay, so now I have that approximate design, and I can do the same thing here. And there are a number of ways you could do this. You just kind of figure out what works for you. But generally, this is the way I tackle these. So again, I'm going to pull that out. Sometimes SketchUp cooperates, sometimes it doesn't. It's hard to get that activation. If I get it, I stop. So as soon as I get a green line, I stop. I don't try to pull my line out. Notice in the lower right-hand corner, I'm going to put my dimension that I want in there. And that way, I don't start to diverge off of that angle. And it saves me a lot of time. I pull across here. It tells me that I'm hitting my endpoint there. Drop down. Now this is starting to come together. Hit my endpoint there. Yep, went a little overboard. I don't want to have to go in and erase anything, so let's just do this one more time. And there we go. We'll try it once more. My computer is misbehaving a little bit today. Okay, so there we have our first upper wall cabinet. Now we can build everything else off of that. Let's go ahead and make this, do a little bit of clean up on this. So first off, let's come in and reverse the faces. It doesn't really matter the colors here, but just so everything's consistent. Okay, now let's come back in one more time. And this one's easy. The uppers are typically easy because all we have is the cabinet door. And so I just generally do the offset like that. And now we have our upper cabinet, first upper cabinet in place. Okay, and now we continue much like we did in the base cabinet. So it gets a lot easier from here. And again, you've got to look at the cabinets you have available. I kind of know what I have to work with here. I'm going to have some 18-inch uppers. So I'm going to pull an 18-inch mark here. I'm going to come in, drop that down. I'm going to click on this, double click in this, make this a group. There we go. I know I'm in edit mode here. I'm going to come out 12 inches on this because that's the depth of standard upper wall cabinets. And then I'm going to come in and do my offset on this. So the wall cabinets are a bit easier to manage just because we don't have the drawer and we don't have the recess at the bottom of the cabinet. Now I can come in and say, well, what do I want to do here? Let's say maybe I want to put in a 24-inch cabinet now. And again, you'll have to generally kind of experiment with this. Again, I know more or less, I have kind of a cheat sheet here already. So I know kind of what I'm going after. So this is a 24. And again, let's come in, let's make this a group. Now, if we come in here, I think we should be good. Yep, SketchUp still remembers a 12-inch, so I just double-click on push-pull mode, and it will do that for me. 24 is a little wide for a single door, so we can, again, play the same game. Don't forget to be in edit mode when you're doing this. So there's our midpoint. Let's pull that down, and again, we've got a blue line that's telling us that we're parallel with the vertical axis here. Everything's going to be nice and square. And get into offset mode here. And we'll do one this side. I don't know why this is quite not working with me. Yep, come on. Oops, it went the other way. Let's try this one more time. 2 inches. There we go. Okay. All right. So now we have a couple of upper wall cabinets here. Now, when it comes, again, we'll touch a little design here. As I mentioned earlier, we're not strictly speaking about how to design a kitchen, but clearly, I'm just going to put this temporary line here. You want these upper cabinets to end in the same plane as the end of the cabinets here, so that when you set your refrigerator in here, you've got this straight line down. And so if we come in here and pull a measure on this, what you'll see is that's 1.6, so that's an 18-inch cabinet. So hey, here's the value. I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to hit the Option key for Mac, Alt for a PC, and I'm going to just slide this thing down. I'm going to go a little past and then come in here and just make sure I lock it back into the neighbor there. Okay. So there we go. We don't need this anymore. So let's just highlight that and delete it. Okay. Now we have one more cabinet to go up here, but I'm gonna hold off on that one. Let's work on the other side here. Because on the other side we have a similar case here where we want now these upper cabinets. Generally, when I do these, I want the upper cabinets to break where this cabinet is. Now, if I have a window here, I'm not going to have any cabinets. If I don't have a window here, I'm going to have a bridge cabinet, which is a lower height cabinet, which is going to be mounted up higher. It's going to be mounted from the top, coming down maybe 12 inches or so. And that's so that if I'm at the sink, I don't have my face right in a cabinet. We're going to have a window in this design. So what we want to do is break the cabinets on each side of the sink here. And what I mean by that, let's just put a line in here. Again, this is why it's also kind of nice to have the walls as a group, because I don't have to worry about these things getting stuck in there. So I want to have my cabinets run over to this line. And over to this line from this side. Now there may be some more considerations here depending on the window and if you need to trim the window. In this case, our window is going to sit well within this space. So I'm going to have plenty of room for window trim if I need it or anything like that. So I'm going to go basically with this wall space. So I need to fill this wall space and this wall space. Now we're going to try something here that you can do. If you don't want to recreate everything, let's grab, we can just sort of use the move function. Let me show you how to do that. Let's grab this cabinet, let's make a copy of it, and let's get it rotated, and there's our 90, and let's move it into place here. Okay, we have our cabinet in place. Okay, but it's clearly too big. Okay, so let's see what you can do. If you come in and into edit mode and let's go into select, what you want to do is grab this entire side. Now it's important that you have this line on the sort of, the door frame. And what you can do, and this can be a little tricky because you want it to move in only a specific direction. So you only want it to move on the red axis in this case. And we can slide that over basically 6 inches. So I'm not going to try to slide it exactly. I'm just going to hit 6 and enter. And then notice that it slides it. It keeps everything proportional. Now what would happen is if you didn't grab this, it would cause some issues. And so when you grab that, you do have to go into edit mode too, right? Because you're editing that group. And you just want to grab those pieces. You don't want these. You just want all of these vertical lines here, and you can just reshape that cabinet. Okay. All right. So what do we have over here now? We have now 4 feet left. So that sounds like a good job for 2 24-inch cabinets. We already have those over here. And so again, we're going to reuse these components, right? Now, if you didn't want this, clearly you could create more cabinets. Or if you didn't want this design, you could create more cabinets. Let's make a copy of that. Let's bring it over here and rotate it around 90, and let's come in here and drop it into ready to go. Let's come in here and drop it into our spot here, and we got our guides for that. Let's just kind of circle around and make sure we have it tied on that line. It's not quite there. I'm going to come in here, going to move and just slide that thing over just a little bit. There we go. Okay. So now we have that one in place, and we just want to make one more copy of it. That's, again, really easy. Let's just grab, we'll grab this side. That way we can slide it over and hit our copy, the relevant copy button. And then slide that down. Okay. So there we go. We have now almost finished. We've got one last cabinet to do, and that is going to be our bridge cabinet for over our refrigerator. The depth of the bridge cabinets are typically the depth of the base cabinets, which are 24, and then they're typically 18 inches in height. And so what you want to do on these is measure down from the top 18 inches. And now we can simply come in here and put in our outline for it. Let's go ahead and make it a group. Okay. And now we want to pull it out 24 inches. So they do stick out past the other cabinets. And this is obviously so you can reach them. There's a refrigerator there. And there we go. That's all there is to it. Now, maybe you're going to put something in with different dimensions. That's fine. Again, if you're doing something custom, make it whatever. I know that these are the dimensions of the ones that I typically work with. You will occasionally see them that are upper wall depth as well. In which case, that's fine. Just don't make them as deep. We want to go ahead and apply the same things we normally do here. In this case, we're going to find that midpoint. We're going to pull down there. And then we're just going to use our offset here to come into, and that's it. And with that, we have our wall and base cabinets layout in place. And so we want to clean up some of this stuff here. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. All right. And so now we are ready for countertops and appliances, or appliance in this case, the refrigerator, sink. And we'll do a few finishing touches to it in the next video. So that's it for today. Good luck.